went to England when I was 15. That was 1961. I lived in England. I went to school in England. I was there for a while, long while, till I decided to go to America. I went to America, fall in love, got married.
Big Apple connection. New York, London. Danny King, Patricia. We married in 1978. And one day we were going to Manhattan because I was showing Danny around New York, which I was enjoying. And we were going down the subway. We saw a Korean stall with hats. So Danny said, wait, stop. I could sell these hats. These hats would go great in London. So we decided that he'd put 500, I put 500, buy the hats, go down Broadway, buy the hats, and send them to London, which he did, which was fantastic, with fantastic results, because he and his partner, his sidekick, Michael McGregor, they went all over London, all over outside England, and distributed these hats and sold them.
I put them in the back of the car. I go to Birmingham, Manchester, Bristol, you name it. I go and hustle on the front line because those boys needed nice caps. So I used to do all that run up the M4, M1, all over the place. I enjoy that as well because I meet people. And when I tell them that I'm from Port Antonio, a lot of them know my family and know me.
So when he called me, he says, oh, this was a fantastic marketing for us. We sold all of the hats. So I said, okay, well, all right, let me get busy. Let me contact some hat sellers, some hat manufacturers, because we can't keep going through the middleman. So I got busy trying to find out who was making these hats. And at the time, Jewish people were in control of all the hat business in America. So I got about 5 to 8 different manufacturers, and I visited them one by one and told them that, well, I'd like to buy some hats to send to England. Oh, they said, England? You come from England? So I said, no, I don't come from England, I'm American, but my husband comes from England. So we want to buy these hats. So I told him what hats, what we needed. He says, I'll tell you what, go into the factory, open up any box that you want to open up, and I'll give you a price. It was a great price. You could pay $1 for a hat, especially cowboy hats. And the special hat that was the backbone of our business was the Big Apple cap, which we got the name for the shop, Big Apple.
One day I see him come back, come with a cap, you know, diamond socks and thing, and you know, the apple cap on, which yeah, and yeah, enough man, because yeah, you can see it's a black thing. It's a cultural, like a black man style thing. You know, so it becomes a black thing. So black man style where the mat and stuff out and the colors and stuff we was getting, which no England is the one sell. So that was going good. Him sold and want to restock. So he left local salt, what that's left. You know what I mean? Put in that shop, in a record shop, and I was like, because the people who sold the hat to was the frontliners and the, you know, the should be people. But people who come to the record shop is all some working black man, and you know, people never really see, because there's some workhouse, you know what I mean? And then buy them a record and man from a factory man till extract factory man. Yeah, buy some socks man from America, yeah. So that's, yeah. Next thing you know, them ask more hat than record.
So we decided that, okay, let's open a shop. And we called it the Big Apple. So we did. And we got a local artist called Paul to paint the outside. Those who have been to London at that time and know about the Big Apple knew that it was a big apple with a little worm coming out. And he painted that on the glass outside of the shop. And all the shop was done in wood, which Michael did. He did all the woodwork inside, where you hang the hats and things like that. So it was a great venture. It was a mom and pop organization, but we had much more to offer London and Brixton and the UK. So we decided that we would get a PR, and her name was Lynn Franks at the time. She was very big in PR work, and we paid her two grand to put us on the map, and what she did. And we were in magazines, Honey magazine, for example, and other magazines, or fashion magazines, and we needed somebody actually to be in the shop, because I was still in America and Danny was on the road selling hats. So he asked his stepdad, Mr. Smith, beautiful man, to help us. He helped us financially, him and his mom, and he stayed in the shop, which brought some stability to the shop while we were away. And we got a manager as well, Michael McGregor. He was Danny's sidekick. He was all over with Danny. Danny never traveled anywhere without Michael. And Michael also was a part of, he was a great salesman.
Danny King, it's a little shop. You know what I mean? Next thing I know, him get the shop. Next thing I know, they still every day I burn off the wood and it don't work in that place. Oh, God. 24 hours out through the night, man, come help on this and big fish soup and downstairs and still I sell hot. Yeah, we done good, and good presentation. The guys that done the mirror, the front, they came from Cornwall and they just rent the room next door, to them, because I look for job themselves. And they say, well, they can do this, that. And they done this great thing where is that they just paint the thing, they put like 3 coats of paint, the thing look very good, picture big apple. And all that done is put a little worm on the apple. With the glasses on the apple cap. Well, that was a good thing.
Detail.
Yeah, you look at it, you can't say, yeah, you see the apple cap and, and I'm laugh like, in the bus they can look down and try to show my side. So, and the shop went good, and sleep night, and physically, make it creative. You know what I mean? So, it was done very good.
So we had the shop. We still did the outreach, and then we had the hyper, which was in Kensington. We decided to get an outlet, which my daughter, Denise, was very helpful in the shop. She loved the shop business. And we put her in Hyper. And that was, Hyper was designed for designers, young designers. And you have a lot of the young designers in London now who have made it, big names, who started in Hyper. And we were right along with them. And you had people coming from all over the world, all over the country. They wanted to go to Brixton. They wanted to see the shop. They wanted to buy the beavers. They wanted to buy the hats. It just took off like a wildfire.
Yeah, I got a chance to work in the Brixton shop, and then later on, got a chance to work in the Clapham Junction branch. They also had a branch in High Street, Kensington, and I got a chance to do that as well. And I worked full time. So I think I spent a lot of time with the Big Apple, a lot of time with my mom and my stepfather. I spent a lot of time with both of them, getting the shop going and taking an interest and seeing all the different types of people. And there were people from all walks of life that would come into that shop, and they wanted to walk out feeling great, from the Jeff Caps to the 8-quarter to the beavers. It was a great experience, really, really good experience. And looking back, it's one of those things that you can't, it just happened. It's that thing that it's almost like it happened by accident. I don't think anyone planned for it to be that amazing, the shop. and also the community, the fact that it brought so many other people together, and it brought a sense of pride for people. So yeah, it was really, really good, really good. And also, I enjoyed selling the beavers, because these guys went all the way to Milan. They got the beavers molded, the mold done for the beaver. And I remember, you know, the Italians weren't too keen on working with them. You know, and I'm not too sure why. I had my ideas, but I was very young then as well. But I could remember that it took a long time for them to actually get that off the ground. So when these beavers eventually came, they came in these big boxes, and when we opened up the box and we saw these beavers, they were so pretty, and they were so well made, and they were specifically made for the Big Apple. I was amazed.
The beaver hat came from a place, it didn't come from there, but anyway, I found it in Delancey Street in New York City. And that was also a Jewish district where they did wholesale. So I went into the shop and I said, how much for that beaver hat? And they had all different ones and whatnot. So I said, so he says, oh, about $100. I said, okay, give me 12. So I bought 12 and I sent them to London. What happened? Big, everybody was interested. Everybody wanted a beaver hat. All the rock stars we had coming in the shop. Gregory Isaac, Freddie McGregor, you name who was doing reggae, they were coming to get those hats. So Dan and I were talking, and we said, let's find out the origin of the hat. And it was in Italy. Yeah, we found ourselves in Brindisi, where the manufacturers, Bassellini, hat manufacturers, would pick us up, and they couldn't find us, and they were looking for white people, which they didn't find white people. They found Danny King and Patricia. So they treated us royally, I must say, and took us back to their factory, and it was like a mausoleum. You know, it was huge. It's like a big museum. And then they brought out the beavers that they had. And we said, okay, this is what we're looking for, but we want to design our own. And we gave them the idea that we wanted a zebra one, we wanted a giraffe one, we wanted like a lion-looking color one, and a psychedelic one. So they ended up making us 10 dozen. And that really put Big Apple on the map as well. And then you had all your famous reggae stars coming in, styling. They wanted to be styled up with a beaver. Gregory Isaac was a regular customer. Freddie McGregor, Jimmy Cliff, Dennis Brown. They all came through the Big Apple.
My name's Jason. I'm the son of Danny and Pat, and I grew up in the legendary Big Apple hat shop. My earliest memories of the hat shop was coming there, and it was just a vibrant, energetic place where loads of people would come, as well as buying hats, loads of people would come just to be around the environment. I know many of you know my dad already, Danny King, a larger-than-life character. And yeah, he probably brought a lot of his character into the shop, what then transgressed for people to be energized in coming there. Me as a child, first of all, I've got different experiences of the hat shop. So I had experiences of, as I think I was maybe 5 or 6. I just come in there and just probably being amazed at what was going on, and the shop looking so big as a 5 or 6-year-old. Then later on growing up, I'm being more aware of what was going on in my environment. Seeing celebrities like Boy George, Peter Tosh, Freddie McGregor, all of the major artists of the time, pop stars, that you'd go and watch Top of the Pops on a Thursday and go to a dad's shop on a Saturday and see someone who was on Top of the Pops. You go back to primary school on a Monday, you say, oh, I saw Boy George. People are like, oh, no, you never. I know you never. Yes, your daddy's in my dad's shop. Oh, your dad ain't even got a shop. Yes, my dad has a shop. Because at the same point, it was unreal for black people at that time to have a business like that. when the Brixton Riots are on. And that's a very point memory that I remember being in the shop and the riot was actually taking place outside of the shop, going all the way down Acre Lane towards the town hall. But yet still, no one troubled the shop. My dad was in there I just watched the Brixton Riots live. Like, going back to, you know, I remember, like, yeah, it was that was something I've never experienced, and I probably haven't experienced it. But as you watched it live, but looking back, if that would have been now, people would have been pulling down shutters, trying to get away and what have you. We just sat in the shop and we just, oh, okay, they're having a riot. Working in the shop, later on, as I reached around, I probably started working in the shop from about 11. So, by the time I probably had brushed and steamed every felt in that shop 100 times. It was a very laborious task, but it had to be done. Keeping a clean ship, as my dad always said, and the shop was immaculate. You know, he said, I've got the best shop in Brixton, yeah, if not London. And yeah, it was fun. I worked there until the shop closed, and it played a very major part in my life. What can I say? Long live the Big Apple.
So, when I was born, the Big Apple hat shop was already open. I grew up in and around the shop, around my brothers and sisters, and you know, I was the youngest because I was younger at the time, and I didn't see these things. I was there, I couldn't remember, you know. I start to hear the stories, I start to see the faces, I start to hear, you know, what actually took place during that time. And you know, it took a real impression on me, you know, because you know, it's like you're coming into something. You see that things have taken place where, you know, on levels where you couldn't even imagine, and to see how that all took place and to see the impact on, you know, so many people that, you know, mom and dad had, and you know, the different people involved in the shop, you know my brothers and sisters, you know, Michael, you know the DJ inside, and all of the sound guys, Clive, and you know, the whole music scene, and just the impact on all of those people. And I mean, for me, you know, it was kind of mind-blowing because, you know, normally we look at dad as just dad, you know, but he done great things in his time, you know, and he's known for good things, you know, and for me, growing up in a different era, in a different country, and different things transpired, you know, it was an impact on me. That's when I actually knew who, you know, my dad was, so to speak, because it's not coming from him, it's coming from, you know, people outside. I had people stopping me on the road, and I know who you are, and I'm, do you? You know, I know who your father is. You know, it had a great impact on me, and I seen the impact that it had on the community at that time, and even now. You know, people are coming together, people are still talking about what they did at that time, and you know, so I think, you know, that sort of, you know, spirit and memorabilia, all from that era of the shop and the 70s, the 80s, you know, here in London. I think, you know, it still lives on amongst many people.
We just continued all the way up into the 80s, late 80s, and then you had the copycats come in, and all the big department stores came against us, and they flooded everything cheap, 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 as they normally do if they want to get you out of the business. You know, they find one way or another to get you out of the business. It took the wind out of our sails for a little while. But then we met two very creative young people, Europeans, who could make hats. Her name was Eve, and his name was Steve. And they were kind of hippie-looking kind of people. And we bought a hat maker. And this part, a lot of people don't know. They made hats in our basement in Brixton. And we went to Luton to buy the felts. And they did tie-dye. They did funny kind of things with hats. All sorts of stuff that you'd never see. But this was the market for the European and also for the fashion. One of the biggest highlights we had was Harrison Ford, the movie The Raiders of the Lost Ark. He wore one of our hats that I got from America. That, you know, it just, everything just fell into place. It was such a great experience, you know. And we had our ups, and of course we had our downs. In the conclusion of Big Apple, started in New York City, the Big Apple, and we imported things to London, and then we had the London connection, the fashion connection, and it just was a beautiful beginning and end to the Big Apple. We both worked very hard together to make it work, and we did many more things after that. It was like we were meant to be together to do something good. And so we were very pleased with the last 30-odd years that we had with Big Apple, and then now we're on a new venture, and it just keeps getting better and better and better. And now we're looking at, from London now, we went to Jamaica, and then we went back to London, and then we decided that maybe we should set our sails to go to Africa, which was unheard of in those days. So Danny was the person who really kind of looked and pushed through going to Africa. And we're still here today, and that would be another story.